It is trade day number 4.
No. Well, yeah.
Monday, Tuesday,
Sorry,
Wednesday,
4,
Thursday.
yes.
That's the voice of Tom Morris.
It feels like trade day 15.
Trying to work his way through breakfast radio. He's realising how hard it is at the moment. Rhonda loves your work, and we love Rhonda's work. Good morning. I thought I'd missed him. He's still my favourite, but Tom's been like a breath of fresh air.
Oh, thank you.
So there you go. Let's see if that breath is still smelling like Colgate by the end of this trade period. Okay, so for Cobram Estate Rose Most Award Extra Virgin Olive Oil, grown, harvested, first cold pressed in Northern Victoria. Biggest news yesterday for me was Taylor Adams. Not that he left, because once he said he was going, we knew that deal would get done. It got done for 33, but it was Kinnear Beatson on Sports Day, and isn't SEN and Trade Radio just owning this space? So this is Kin Beatson last night.
To be honest, that was really late, very late in the final series.
So he approached them.
Yeah, interesting. And in grand final week. What do you make of that?
But this is what I'm trying to get my head around. So he did his hamstring.
The Tuesday he was ruled out.
Right. So, yeah, I don't know. He would have clearly that...
And announced on the Wednesday.
He's been thinking about it, where he sat. I would imagine he's been thinking about his position at Collingwood. He's sort of hadn't got shifted out of that midfield, but he certainly wasn't spending the amount of time that he was. He was playing as a high half forward, pinch hitter through the middle of the ground, still vice captain of the footy club. So I think this is an indication of where the whole footy landscape sits.
Yeah.
Vice captain... Your team's about to contend for a premiership. Everything we hear, it's the greatest environment, and it is. They've put together this beautiful environment of inclusiveness and empathy and all that. But the vice captain says that's great. But guess what? In the lead up to the grand final, I'm talking to Sydney.
And also, but he might not be talking to Sydney. His manager's talking to Sydney. So that's an important distinction as well. He can speak to his management and they can do the grunt work while he just focuses on
the
best
right.
teammate for the week.
Well, I'm not suggesting he sat down and had an interview with him in grand final week, but clearly with his imprimatur, with his saying,
I know grand final week's different, but recent history is littered with players meeting clubs of rival teams through the season. Zach Merritt met with 7 or 8 different clubs.
Yeah, no, I don't have an issue with that. And I'm not even being highly critical. I'm just sort of saying this is where it sits these days. Premiership week.
Yep.
Premiership. Grand final week, Craig McRae's football club that we've all admired because they're all on the same path, vice captain of that team, ruled out, really footy tragically, but willing and open to a trade before that premiership's decided.
Yeah, and I think I reported...
Give us your thoughts, Collingwood people. And as I say, I'm not passing judgment. I think we're not at American level where they just get changed.
No.
But compared to where we were 10 years ago, a decade ago, this is a really aggressive play from the Adams camp.
It's a quantum leap from where it's been.
And where does that sit with Collingwood supporters? Are you prepared to go, okay, he's given us great service since he arrived from the Giants, and he's 30 and he's got a 3-year deal, so good luck to him? Or are you a bit, what are you doing in the middle of a grand final week talking to another club? I'd be interested. Maybe people don't care.
I've got no issue with it at all because clubs speak about their own players moving clubs before the end of the season as well, and that you can bet that list managers were speaking to Collingwood about their players before the grand final week. Just a quick one as well. I reported a couple of weeks ago that Taylor Adams was disappointed that he had to prove his fitness so early in the week. His preference was to prove his fitness on the Thursday before the grand final.
Right. When did you make a call on it?
Tuesday.
So do you think that's had some bearing in this decision?
I've got no idea. I don't know.
But you bring it up. You've brought it up.
I brought it up.
Throwing it into the mix.
Well, it's part of the mix. Yeah, he wanted to prove his fitness on the Thursday like every other week. But grand final week, as you know, is a completely different beast. So pick 33 goes back to the Pies, and that's a deal that was done pretty easily in the end.
Easily, yeah.
Taylor Adams is 30. He's got a 3-year deal at the Swans, and he'll play inside mid. He had a 1-year deal at Collingwood, and he was going to play half forward.
I did park a message. Someone said Melbourne traded 3 picks out worth 2,386 points and got 1 back worth 1,329. Explain that, Thomas.
Don't get sucked in with the points for Melbourne. The points are irrelevant for the Demons. They're not looking to pick up father-son players or academy players. Just like West Coast won't trade away pick 1 if another team comes with more points. At that level of the draft, it's all about what players are available and what you believe the draft is like. And
so Melbourne are not rating the back end, is that what they're saying?
Not even rating the middle end. They don't need 2 or 3 second and third rounders. They want the very top end and the ability to potentially move up even further. So Melbourne traded picks 14, 27 and 35 for pick 11. And you look at it on the surface, they go, geez, they've only moved up from pick 14 to pick 11. But they don't need 27 and 35. They may as well be pick 70. They don't care about those picks.
But would they need them to get some deals done, though, like where you need a...
Like what deals, though?
Well, for McAdam.
Yeah, the McAdam one's an interesting one. They don't believe that McAdam's even worth that much. So they did get pick 46 back for Brodie Grundy, so maybe they could use that one. Do you want to talk about Harrison Petty?
Sure. He's become hot property.
Well, he is. The Adelaide Crows love him. So no official trade request yet from Harrison Petty. He's got 2 years remaining on his deal at Melbourne. But Adelaide is having a genuine crack, even if they are aware that Melbourne at the moment is just stonewalling. They're pouring cold water on it. But it's not going to stop them having a go. So Petty is attracted by the prospect of living in Adelaide, where his sister lives. She captains the Adelaide netball team over there, the super netball team. Hannah is her name. So this one's bubbling. The Crows are refusing to give up, which is telling at the moment, and Melbourne is refusing to entertain it. But there's 6 days left. So the Crows believe that on the off chance they could change his mind, but it's very hard to do so if he doesn't formally request a trade. He's got to push the barrel from his end. It also complicates Shane McAdam's potential move to Melbourne because Adelaide are more likely to play hardball on that. And watching very closely is GWS, because if on the off chance Petty gets to Adelaide, then Elliot Himmelberg will be more likely to get to the Giants because the Crows will be more likely to let him go. So there's a few interested parties in this.
Right.
What do you make of it all?
I don't know how much of it's media driven. I don't know how much of it's Petty driven or Petty camp driven, or is it purely Adelaide going, listen, we're going to go hard aggressively. Hey, you're a friendly part of the media. Just see if you can crank this up a little bit. If I'm Melbourne, I'm going, we're not trading Harrison Petty. He's got 2 years. He's with us for 24 and 25, and during that time we might try and extend him.
Which they are, yeah.
Don't even... We got your number on our phone dial. If we see Adelaide Crows' number coming up and you haven't got pick 7 or 6 or 5 or 4, then nick off.
Yep.
That's how I'd deal with it.
Yeah, but what about what draft pick do Adelaide have? What about pick 10?
No.
No?
No.
So what's your minimum for Harrison Petty?
I don't know, but all I know is that for this football club, if Harrison Petty is somewhere else, then 10 would be a good pick. But Harrison Petty at Melbourne is an enormously valuable commodity because the one area where they are most lacking is filled by him.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? So pick 10. So Harrison Petty at Geelong, where they got Hawkins and Cameron, and he's a great pick.
Yeah.
Harrison Petty for 10 at Melbourne, for me, this is just me.
Yeah.
I'm going, hang on. We did, all your bemoaning, all Melbourne supporters bemoan is the fact they haven't got a key position forward. He's indicated at 23 years, or showing some indications at 23 years that he could perhaps do the job. So I'm saying bugger off.
Now, clearly he's interested in moving.
Don't know, is
but
he?
How,
I haven't heard from him.
Well, clearly he is interested in moving, but how interested is the question that only he knows. If he's really interested, he should formally request a trade.
Yeah.
Without that request, it's very hard to get this deal done. And even with the request, Melbourne can easily say no. But, Gary, over the last 5 years, 1 in 2 players that have been traded under contract.
Yeah.
So there's lots of players that are traded under contract every single year.
I get that. I understand it. And my question to you earlier, which I'll pose on the other side of the break, is you explained to me the role of reporting in all of this and where you can give it a little, can a media give a little push along or do clubs? And I've never, hand on heart, been approached by any club to say, listen, we want to get this Isaac Rankin trade going. Right now there's not a lot of momentum. You couldn't start cranking it up.
Yeah.
I want to put it to you and ask you whether or not that that approach has been made to you somewhere along the way. Now, has any club ever said to you, look, this is one I want to get a bit of momentum on?
What do you think the answer is?
I'm asking you. I don't know.
No, occasionally, but it's up to the journalist to be smarter than that.
Not that you're going to sell your soul.
No.
But make this one hasn't got much traction.
There is a bit of I scratch your back, you scratch mine.
Yeah.
Quid quo
like
pro.
I'm not saying they want you to go out and do something that's going to be at the core of your integrity as a journalist.
No.
But if it's this Brodie Grundy situation let's say last year, the Brodie, can you crank this up a bit? Can you bring this up with whoever you're working with?
Yeah.
I wonder if that works.
Maybe a little bit, but I think it probably more exists with player managers. Trying to get their players moved, trying to get their players' name out there.
Yeah.
I think that is part of the game, for sure.
Right.
It's It's a little bit of a dirty industry at times like that because you're just constantly like cutting deals. And
Well, player managers unashamedly do what's best for their player.
Absolutely.
So I don't mind that at all.
Yeah.
I get it. In fact, I get it if a club was saying, hey, come on, let's help me out here and see if you can, as long as it's not.
There are some journalists that can be got easier than other journalists.
Oh, hello. Here
Not
we go.
naming, no, not
Here we
naming names.
go.
I'm not.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you can't just take what a club and player manager tells you verbatim and just report it and just assume that it's all factual and that it's neutral. You have to double check both sides where possible.
Right.
And there are some reporters in the past that have probably been got a little bit, and I'm sure I've been got a couple of times as well. So,
Just take it as at face value and go with it.
yeah, and only afterwards do you realise, actually, hang on.
That might have been in their best interest. for them
Yeah,
to
I'm sure
report
that's
that.
right to their perspective, but not to the other perspective. So that's part of the challenge, guys. You've got to find the middle ground. And sometimes the middle ground is not popular with either side of the
All right, lots of messages coming through. Richmond don't appear to be doing anything. What's your response to that?
Well, they're trying to get Jacob Kazitsky from Hawthorn. Hawthorn have said he's worth about pick 25, which is utterly ridiculous.
but wouldn't play him.
Wouldn't play him, offered him a 1-year deal on minimum
as
money.
the what am I again? The adjudicator.
You're the judge.
Off you go, Hawthorn.
Now speaking of you being the judge, you said yesterday a straight swap for Xavier Dersma
Yep.
and Brennan Zerk-Thatcher.
Yep.
And funnily enough, see, maybe you've been got by Adrian Dodoro because that's what Essendon want.
I don't think I've ever spoken to Adrian Dodoro.
We spoke to him yesterday. It was fantastic on Trade Radio.
Essendon want a straight swap.
Yep. So they want Dersma to come in and they want Zerk-Thatcher to go out, and that's it.
Yep.
Port are saying no. Dersma's better than Zerk-Thatcher. He's also contracted. So they
Well,
need
the fact
another
he's
draft pick.
contracted is something they've got to weigh up.
Yeah.
I get that. But I'd do that in a heartbeat, both of them, just
Yeah.
so they could move on.
Yeah. Port Adelaide, they received pick 22 from Fremantle specifically so they could offer it to Geelong for Asava Radigalia. It's now pick 24. Geelong reportedly is going to say no to that. Instead, they want Ollie Lord, according to Josh Money from Channel 9 in Adelaide.
Is that his name? Josh Money?
Josh Money, the money man.
The money man.
Yeah, used to work at Fox.
G Money's brother.
So he's reporting that they want Ollie Lord, who is the grandson of Geelong Premiership player and Brownlow medalist Alistair Lord. But that seems a bit overs as well. Surely pick 22 or 24 is about right for Asava.
Well, they want 24 and Ollie Lord.
No, they'd prefer just Ollie Lord.
A straight swap, Ollie Lord for Asava
And
Radigalia.
Port's not doing that. Ollie Lord's also contracted for next year.
Right.
So Geelong is trying to ask for a contracted player in return for a non-contracted player. It seems a bit skewed. Anyway, some more stuff.
Yep.
Zach Fisher, so he signed a 4-year deal at North Melbourne. He had 2 years left on a deal.
Zach Bradley.
Zach Bradley, yeah.
No, they got that deal
Zach
done.
Koutafidis.
We can stop saying that because they got the deal
They
done.
got the deal done. So the trade, Fisher and pick 17 to North, picks 21 and 25 back to Carlton. Now, you need to give your old mate...
That's pretty good for Carlton, I think.
Pretty good for Carlton. You need to give your old mate, Stephen Silvani, a call.
Sausage.
Because
He'll be listening.
St Kilda is in the middle of a number of trades.
They holding things up.
Well, no, I'm not going to go that far.
No.
But there's still time left. But
What does he need to get done? If I was to ring Sausage, what would you suggest?
they've got their tentacles everywhere. So they're trying to get Liam Henry from Fremantle.
That'll get done.
That'll get done. There's still a bit of a gap, though.
Yep.
They're trying to get Paddy Dow from Carlton,
that'll
which will
be-
get
that's a
done.
no-brainer.
But Carlton's waiting on the Saints.
Yep.
And they're trying to get the Jade Gresham stuff sorted as well.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one other... Oh, and they're trying to... give Nick Caulfield to the Western Bulldogs.
Right.
So
That'll
they're dealing
get
with
done.
4 clubs at once,
Right.
and none of them have been done yet, whereas the Sydney Swans are now done. They're out. So they've got Taylor Adams and Brodie Grundy
Mm-hmm.
and Joel Hamling and James Jordan, and the Swans are done. They can relax for the rest of the trade period.
Right.
So
Okay. Well, I think all of those ones would get done. I would reckon.
you think they almost always do, but there's always the threat of walking to the preseason draft and all that sort of stuff.
they're going to be in trouble if Liam Henry walks to the preseason draft, and then Jade Gresham walks to the preseason
Well,
draft.
what happens here is we're waiting on Essendon to submit their contract for Jade Gresham.
Mm-hmm.
Once they do that, St Kilda get the choice whether to match the bid or not.
Yep.
If they do match the bid, then if Essendon still want him, they'll have to trade for him. If they don't match the bid, then Essendon can just take him as a free agent.
So if they match the bid and Jade Gresham still wants to go, his only way of getting there is via the trade, yeah?
Yeah,
Or go in the draft.
correct.
The
Yeah.
preseason draft.
Yeah,
And then they
all
put
the
a big
national
front
draft.
end contract on him.
Yes, they would. They put a
And-
bounty on his head.
And then St Kilda then have to make a decision whether they want to pay that sort of wedge for a player
That's
that doesn't
right.
want to be there.
And they might not necessarily want that much anyway.
Right, so that'll get done.
Yeah, in some way or shape or form it will get done, but it's what compensation the Saints get that will determine whether they match the bid or not.